Hello, good evening. Welcome to yet another episode of Tribe Dialogues. Today, we are going to have a very interesting discussion on the new emerging world order, and it will be slightly different format. So, I would be, starting this discussion with a brief setting of today's discussion, and then we'll be doing some kind of a role playing. We have two eminent experts with us. General Packard and General Chaturvedi. Welcome, sir, to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, as you are aware, I had put it out that we will be discussing Alfred Mahan and Mackinder, what they said about in the 20th century, and now what is the relevance of these two eminent geopolitical scientists, what about their theory as far as the new world order is concerned. What I will do is I'll give a brief presentation and then we can go ahead with the discussion. Essentially, General Kakkad will be representing Alfred Mahan and General Chaturvedi will be representing the Mackinder. So let's see how these two great actors play out the new emerging world order. Also, if you see this photograph actually today reflects what is happening the world over. You have the land powers represented by Russia, China, and the works that for Iran. That is the line of the alignment which is taking place. And you have the sea power represented by Alfred Mahan, which is the U.S., West, and the others. Unfortunately, India is caught in the vortex of these two great alignments which are today occurring, and the defining events which actually caused this kind of a movement is the COVID-19, which happened in 2020, and the Russia-Ukraine war. For India, two more incidents have had a great value in its positioning globally. First one was the Doklam incident, and the second one was the Galwan incident. I think these three, four events have and are shaping the new world order. So, just to tell our viewers, what do we mean by Mackinder and Mahan? Sea part theory. This was enunciated by Alfred Thayer Mahan. Believed that national greatness was inextricably associated with the sea, with its commercial use in peace and control in war, and he used history as a stock of examples to exemplify his theories, arguing that the education of naval officers should be based on rigorous study of history. In simple terms, what he meant was those who control the sea lanes of communication control the world. As far as land power theory is concerned, Halford Mackinder was the one who enunciated this. He believed that whoever controlled Eastern Europe, the heartland, would control the world. The idea was that whoever gained control of Eastern Europe controlled the heartland, also known as the pivot area, and whoever controlled the heartland could easily gain control of the world island, Africa and Eurasia. Defining events I've already covered COVID-19 and Russia Ukraine war. For India, it was Galwan and Doklam. So, the big questions for which we have gathered our two eminent experts. Are we now fully in the camp of the US? I think Alfred Mahan, which is General Harsh Kakkar, would be able to throw some light on this. Can we afford such a status at this stage? Uh, we'll expect some answers from him. How should India manage Russia in our eagerness to manage China? This I would expect General Chaturvedi to throw some light, who is actually representing Mackinder. And finally, is India standing at the crossroads, caught in the vortex of Mahan and Mackinder countries? Strategic autonomy is the term which I have used. Strategic autonomy dilemma. Are we at that crossroad today? With the kind of events which are happening. Sir, the floor is yours. I will now start with General Chaturvedi. Sir. Please consider that you are Mackinder and start uh, giving us your views as to how now you are a Russian and a Chinese. So how are you going to shape
Yeah,
the new world order? That's the way I want you to start with, sir.
actually, Dushyant, in case
Heartland theory which Mackinder has given, uh, one of the important things, China had traditionally been a inland country. It has never been say maritime country, except 15th century when Zhang He did seven forays to Horn of Africa, and in seventh he died somewhere in the South India. Except that they had never been, and they were actually hemmed in the sea. Now, as far as China is concerned, when they became independent, also, that is, or whatever say the People's Republic of China came up. Initially, the if you see, there are three phases. I would say one is Mao's phase, second is Deng Xiaoping's phase, and third is Xi's phase. Now, Mao was basically ideology driven. But at the same time, he also felt that for the safety and security of his country, he gave that concept of palm and five fingers. I don't have to tell these erudite scholars here that what these five fingers were, but essentially he wanted to control the landmass. Now, Deng Xiaoping, he tried to perpetuate the same kind of a theory through economic empowerment of China. And Z, when it came to nationalism, then he tried to go back to 2000 years. That is Silk Route and Maritime Silk Route. Now, Silk Route, what was it? What it was? That it was a route to current South Asia, Southeast Asia, and going up to Middle East and all that, going up to Europe. And
So
that is
you're
where he
suggesting,
felt that
so
relevance
you're
and
suggest,
importance of Xinjiang and other things are in his scheme of things.
so sir, you are suggesting that Xi Jinping is now trying to become both Mackinder as well as Mahan.
Yes, yes. When why Mahan? Because when he started looking at it, that he realized that one of the major important input into it is the energy. Now, energy requirement of China is becoming so much that we can discuss it a little more in detail. But the fact of the matter remains that because of his energy needs, she has started feeling that she needs to go all over the world, and that is there. If you notice, Middle East. If you see, there are two important agreements recently she has gone for. One is 2020. She went for a $400 billion deal with Iran, where for 40 years, for 25 years, they will get their energy needs. And now they have gone for to stabilize Persian Gulf, which is the main source of their energy. They have gone for a attempted truce between Iran and Saudi Arabia, because if those two countries and because of China's intervention in this year in February, the diplomatic relations were restored. Now, as far as now, this is where there's a bit of conflict with Russia. Now, Russia has traditionally been Eurasia. They considered from Romanov Empire. If you notice, Romanov Empire, they tried to come to where Afghanistan and onto Arabian Sea. Same was Soviet Union. Soviet Union, if you see, Caspian as well as Black Sea, north of Black Sea, and the entire Caspian Sea Soviet Union was controlling. Even today, when the Georgia 2008 happened, it is that when they started feeling that Caspian Sea may get lost, again the energy resources they want to control. So there's a lot of fight because of the energy resources. And even as late as 2023, in their uh, latest, say, kind of a paper, Russia has claimed that Eurasia is our priority. And that is why, if you notice, they did not allow Georgia anyone to come in, and they created division Abkhazia and South Ossetia. And similarly in Ukraine, because so long they were other Baltic republics and all, he was not happy, but it was not a red line. Ukraine is his red line, and that is why one of the because it's part of Eurasian mass and the resources. So ultimately, it boils down to fight of basically essentially of resources. The Baltic Sea is concerned because if someone reaches in Baltic Sea, then Sweden and Finland, which now just 300 kilometers from St. Petersburg, and that's why the suddenly, because of the Russians also know the importance of maritime domain, so they have started going for North Sea resources quite substantially. So this
So,
is
sir,
the
so
yeah.
so what I gather is that as of today, it would be really not a good idea to assess a strategy of a country based on only one particular theory. Somewhere the resources come at the center of the entire discussion and entire layout of interest of each country. So I would now ask
Here
you.
I would like to have a very interesting input. When September 2022, 21 to February 2022, when the war commenced in Ukraine, China purchased 91% of the liquefied natural gas of the entire world. Just imagine,
Yeah.
91% of natural gas. So, and
So
wheat also they purchased. I mean, there are theories that Nova Kharkova, which has been destroyed, it is desertifying the Ukraine. So the world
so
will be dependent on China. 12 billion tons of wheat they have secured.
So, Mr. Mahan, sir, now it appears that you seem to be emerging as the kind of the central driving theorist as far as national interests of various countries are concerned. So, how do you now explain the sea powers extending themselves into the heartland?
See, when the SEPA theory was written, it was 1890. That time, the US was a major manufacturing country. The products that were being manufactured in the US could not be consumed within the country, they had to be transported abroad. The second factor was Britain at that time was a major SEPA, especially with all the colonies that it had. So that is when Mahan, or I would say, I came out with the theory that unless you have a major SEPA, you cannot handle your trade. You are restricted as far as exports are concerned. Now, SEPA implied what? SEPA implied a strong and a large merchant fleet. SEPA implied a solid naval power to be able to defend your merchant fleet, as also dominate the sea routes. SEPA also implied holding of bases in different parts of the country, thereby enabling you to build up the resources that you need to be able to handle any challenge which may possibly come in from a land dominated part. Right. So, that theory, when it started, after all, today, if you look at the US today, it is possibly the only country which has got a 13 carrier fleet. China is
Absolutely.
down to two. We're down to two. The UK is down to two. You see, so you're down to that level of aircraft carriers.
Yeah. In fact,
Now,
UK is one.
when you enhance your sea power, now remember in 1890 you did not have air power or space power. Today, with the air power and space power coming in, what are they providing you? They're enhancing your naval power. If you look at the aircraft carriers, it's a combination of naval power, it's a combination of air power. And now with the space power having come in as a third dimension. Now today, what is China most fearing? The thing that bugs China the most is the sailing of US aircraft carriers and US ships through the Straits of Taiwan.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at China, there is a lot of talk that China is also a nation which has really adopted Mahan's policy of sea power. Now, when you look at sea power, what was Mahan insisting on? He was insisting on a few factors. One is the geographical location. Now, China has one seaboard. However, the rest of the country is surrounded on three sides. So it's got a major land border with which it has problems, and it's got a seaboard. Physical confirmation, it has nothing which can divide its fleet. The Taiwan Straits or a little bit of jutting out is not a division of fluids. Whether you're looking at the South China Sea or you're looking at the East China Sea. So physically, it's got a very ideal configuration. It's got a population which can help enable it to build its armed forces. It's got the funds, and it's got a government which is wanting to expand Chinese power. So where does India fall into play? India directly doesn't come into Mackinder's theory of being a part of the Central Asian continent, where basically the capital of Xinjiang, Urumqi, is where the center of Mackinder's theory is based.
Yeah, yeah.
It is part of the rimland. Now, a rimland nation, especially with a huge coastal area, can be influenced by either of the two sides.
That's
That
right.
is, it
And that's
can
what is
either take
happening.
the Mahan approach or it can take the Mackinder approach.
Yeah.
Now, for India, initially, we were looking at the Mackinder approach, which is why we were going closer to China and Russia. But today, with China and Russia, naturally, if you look at the Mackinder diagram, he talks of China and Russia as one entity.
That's
And
right.
that is exactly what we are seeing today. These two are becoming one entity. So today, if you're looking at India, the only option for India to challenge the single entity is to adopt the Mahan approach, because that is where we would gain greater strength by combining up with the West rather than going with possibly our own antagonist.
Okay, I think you've put the entire situation today in the right context as to what is happening. But I would like Jan Chaturvedi to now put himself in the shoes of Xi Jinping and Putin. First, you imagine that you are Xi Jinping. How are you going to contest the so-called 130 odd countries ganged up along with the West, and you having just about 30 odd? I'm actually stretching your support base to 30, because normally speaking, you got about 5 to 6 countries which are strongly aligned to you. I can put Russia in that, Iran in that, North Korea in that, and some of the African countries, and probably Cambodia. How are you going to now navigate yourself? Are you now looking at only developing the Russia China axis, or you're also looking at somehow breaking through this sea power which is surrounding you from all directions? I'm talking of you as now you're Xi Jinping, sir. You're not Mao
Yes.
anymore. Not You're not Deng anymore, sir.
Uh,
Please lay out your future plans, sir.
my point is that I, as a Xi Jinping, as I can visualize, that he started realizing this thing from 2013 itself when he took over the power.
Yes,
And
sir.
that is how this concept of BRI he unfolded.
That's right, sir.
There were 138 countries which were the beneficiaries in this. The total investment of China till date has been $240 billion, and it is counting. It is likely to go to $4 trillion by 2049. Now, this date is mark this date 2049. That BRI completion date is 2049, when they, by their own statement, they have said that we will be the numero uno power of the world. Now, COVID has put an impediment because 2019 onwards, the investment started reducing in BRI. However, the point at issue is that the two prong which he took, and which Harsh has very rightly, and you have also said, that he realized that Mackinder's that inland theory alone may not be sufficient. So then he started paying attention to maritime Silk Route also. So that is why he started going to east coast of Africa, going to Europe to sea through Mediterranean and all those things, and even countries in Europe started joining BRI and all those things. However, the business model has slightly, so probably I'll have to look at afresh. That is one part of it. So second part is that there is a conflict of interest between me and Putin. We are
Absolutely.
friends, because of the circumstances. But I have got my own interests. I have got a rising population. So I would like to push them, la Bangladesh into India, into Siberia. And Siberian resources, Putin is very chary about. He may not like to let me be with there. So that is why, and with Taiwan, Philippines, and Japan, three being there, I am getting hemmed in South China Sea. So therefore, I have to find a way. So one of the thing is that if I can kind of a browbeat India and get a way, because somehow, for whatever reason, uh, Gwadar is a non-starter today. So I tried for Bandhu and Budal, did not work so much. I tried Kraft Thomas, did not work so much. Malacca continues to remain dilemma because India sitting in Great Nicobar, and with the new facilities which are coming up in Great Nicobar, it is becoming well nigh impossible. And with India having access in Henan, in not Henan, Sabah in Indonesia. So therefore, it is very difficult for me to break that. So that is why I must go to Iran and Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia, Iran, if they are, the Persian Gulf becomes stable, and since I have this treaty from with Iran for say 25 years, that $400 billion which I have had, then I'll start getting oil maybe on through the Central Asian pipelines. So, and that is where I will be able to by money. And Iran, Russia, because of their interest and because of the United States and antagonism against Iran, that Iran is out of control of United States. So United States, Russia, in case if they are with me, I'll have a better in inland, and I will try to control through Bandar Jas or somewhere where the oil will come in, and from there it will go to Central Asian, and then from there to say south of Caspian Sea, and this will come to Turkmenistan and then on to me. So my
So,
resources, one of the this was my dilemma, and that is why I have started going towards Middle East and trying to influence things in Middle East with my money power. That is what my, as far as
so
this
what?
is Xi Jinping's thing is concerned.
Yeah. So what I gather, sir, that you as Xi Jinping is actually having a competition both in the heartland as well as in the
Maritime
sea,
domain.
in the
Maritime
maritime
domain.
domain. In the heartland, you have Putin. After all, Putin is also a very ambitious person, and he is not likely to give way to you just like that on the floor. What my question is, as Xi Jinping, are you playing a game to actually proxy Russia against the US and create some kind of a space for yourself as Xi Jinping and continue to support Russia in this war, in Russia Ukraine war, and so that he remains engaged there, and you have a free way to interact with the Saudi Arabians, with the Iranians, with the other Middle Eastern powers, and continue to go grow. Do you think Putin will not pick up this game very soon?
Putin has already realized, but he is in a position, and that is why Putin is trying to say kind of a engage with India. That is one of the major reasons why he is trying to engage with India. You see, China has realized, because if you recall Winter Olympics, which when it happened in 2021 Jan or something, so that is the time they had a meeting, and he realized from September onwards he started say hoarding gas, then he started hoarding wheat. So China has kind of a say kind of a cheated even Russia, and Russia, the $147 billion trade which they have, it is going manifold adversely against Russia. So therefore, Russia's biggest problem at this moment is that it has not too many friends, and friends who can influence things, and that is why he wants to does not want to lose India's support in his, say, both ways. Now,
So,
with West as well as with against China.
so
That is
I'm
one.
switching, sir. I'm switching over to Potter, sir. Sir, you are the president of America. You are in deep trouble as of today, as far as your debts are concerned. They've crossed about almost 32 trillion. You have your three of the banks failing. You also have a problem of high rate of inflation. There is, in fact, you had to fight a battle with your Congress to get you an extension as far as the debt repayments are concerned. Are you now trying to woo India to become part of this so-called Western camp because of your personal reasons, or you have that so-called value-based approach to India as of today?
See, the first factor you've got to remember that today Blinken is sitting in Beijing. He's there for talks. Now, the intention is very clear. As far as POTUS is concerned, you need, I mean, you need a trade with China because unless the cheap goods from China come in, 2024 elections is a problem. At the same time, you've got to ensure that China does nothing funny in Taiwan because anything happening there, 2024 is gone. You also got to see that Putin doesn't succeed too much in Ukraine because again 2024 is gone. So the problems that you face, apart from your own internal debt, your own financial issues, are the facts that anything that you're doing wrong is going to be exploited nice and proper by Trump and whoever is going to replace him, and depending on how the legal case goes. But ultimately, it's going to be a lot of risk. Now, the fact that's there is financially, you still are the global currency. You can continue to print. Of course, you're going to try and influence India to ensure that the BRICS, which is now looking to expand and looking to trade in local currencies, doesn't really succeed in any near time frame. That is something which is very important. The
I'm throwing a
next
wild
factor
one to
is,
you, sir. I'm throwing a wild one to you now.
huh?
Are you going to do a deal with Xi Jinping to stop supporting Russia, and therefore Russia becomes isolated? You remove your number one enemy, so-called number one enemy, secure one of your flanks, and then take on the Taiwan problem separately. Is this
See,
is,
as
is
far
this
as
like
pressure on China
the
to,
one of, after all, America has really not decoupled with China to the extent what people are talking about. It still has its manufacturing hubs there in China. It still has its I mean, you saw those super state actors like Bill Gates and Elon Musk, etc., moving to China and trying to re-establish their manufacturing hubs there. Is there some reproach going between you and China,
see,
and some
I,
underhand deal?
I see, like the way I told you when I started speaking just now, that for me, trade with China is very essential, right? Now, we've been telling China for a long time not to support Russia, but the fact is, we also know they will. Even China, even Xi Jinping wants the war to continue because the longer the war continues, the weaker is Russia, and it is China which is going to be the dominant partner. Secondly, the interest of Europe and mine as POTUS is going to be split between Ukraine and Taiwan. I have to keep financing or keep funding the Ukraine war, at least, I mean, till 2024. Who knows what happens after 2024? Trump may stop. But the fact remains that this is where it is, which is the reason why we scuttled the deal. So we want the war to continue. Xi Jinping wants the war to continue. But what we don't, and we know that Ukraine will not win. We know Russia will not be able to take Kiev. It had a chance, it could have, but well, that's it. That's history.
Sir,
We know
you
nothing
are
will
now
happen.
Mr. Sir, you are now Mr. Putin, sir, General
No, no,
Chaturvedi,
no.
sir.
No, no.
No,
I know. I,
I'm asking General Chaturvedi. You are
uh,
now Mr. Putin. Both of you have
okay.
ganged up,
Okay. So,
both
basically,
US and China. How are you going to react, sir?
okay. So basically, this is where you are. And
Yeah.
as far as China is concerned, you are trying to maintain peace with China. You're trying to see where can you collaborate because you are not looking at escalation. You're looking at
That's
stabilization.
fine,
You're
sir.
looking, which is why we are tying up with. In fact, if you would notice that before I sent Blinken to Beijing, Blinken interacted with his counterparts from both Japan and South Korea. So the message that we're giving China is we are unified in the region. We have Japan, South Korea with us. We've got India with us. Of course, India
Indeed,
is not going to be a military partner. There is no way.
indeed, they are
India
calling
is
it as
only going to
integrated
be a
better.
strategic partner. It's not going to be a military ally. That's out of the question. And India, you see, our relationship, everyone knows. What is our relationship with Russia? Military equipment and oil. How much is the trade with Russia? As per the Indian embassy, $8.1 billion dollars in 2021. What's our trade with the US? $190 billion. Dollars. Is there any comparison? The
Yeah, there
fact
is.
is that we are dependent on military equipment, which is why now that India is switching over to US and we've been able to give them what they want, what Russia never could, the engines for the fighter jets. Possibly, we are pulling India into our camp. And by pulling India into our camp, we are not making it a military ally, making it a strategic partner, letting it slowly reduce. As far as Russia is concerned, India is backing Russia because we have no choice. We are stuck with their equipment. We're stuck with the oil. We cannot go for a costlier oil in Saudi Arabia, especially now that they have decided to cut down production. So we are going to continue with the Russian relationship. Nobody's going to stop that. So therefore, we can't support the US in condemning Russia publicly. In fact, you will find after Modi's visit to the US, you will find the statement will make a mention
We, we,
of
we,
ensuring territorial integrity,
we,
but no
sir,
mention of Russia.
we'll come to that later, sir. Now, sir, your Mr. Putin, it clearly appears that China and US have meeting of interest somewhere in defeating you outrightly. Because
Actually,
China looks at Eurasian mass being controlled by him, and that is Xi Jinping wants that entire landmass to be controlled by him. US says I have an immediate problem, short-term problem, so it doesn't matter. I should be able to reapproach with Xi Jinping, buy some time, and then look at my long-term interest. How are you going to now navigate, sir, Mr. Putin? You are in a problem. You are in deep problem.
actually, Blinken's visit to China is trying to build bridges. But America's one of the, as I can visualize, is one of the history suggests that their interests are permanent. Now, if these permanent interests on that alter, suddenly Taiwan will start feeling uncomfortable because Taiwan is something which even America cannot lose out. So therefore, they've got a very Hobsonian choice. Chinese have got a very Hobsonian choice, and same is uh, America. Now, as a Putin, I would like this pot should continue boiling in South China Sea. That is one. That is for sure. Secondly, I definitely would like to do something with India so that the China's say, southern borders, which are again Himalayas, remain alive. If that thing happens, China will be not be able to take a kind of a precipitative action which they otherwise would have taken. Now, third thing is Iran, Saudi Arabia, Turkey. These become very important. Now, I would like to continue to control the northern portion of the Black Sea because America would continue. I am aware that America would try to grab Moldova into their fold. If that happens, the Odisha becomes vulnerable. And if Odisha becomes vulnerable, Ukraine and NATO has got an access to the Black Sea, which is not in my interest. Similarly, by being in the recent this India Armenia accord, now only thing, Azerbaijan is a little issue. Now, what I must try to do is, Azerbaijan is a Shia country. So with
Yeah.
Iran on my side, when I'm getting the Shahid 136 and Mohajer 6 from number of them at low technology, that say air loitering area. Now, can I use Raisi or someone, that is President Raisi or someone, to get even Azerbaijan on my side? If that happens, and that is why if you notice, post Ukrainian war, Nagorno Karabakh, I just kept quiet. I kept quiet, and we allowed Azerbaijan to take it. Now, with this kind of a thing, my Caspian Sea route is safe, and that is Sea of Azov, and everything is safe. So, therefore, I have to put China under control, and that I can do only by only one country, and that is India. That is why centrality of India in my scheme of things is substantial. Notwithstanding $80 billion of trade deal, which arms trade deal, which India may be having in near future,
So,
they may have beaten me in the G404, but there are many other areas, the space and other
yeah,
things which I can
got
take
it,
up.
sir. Got it, sir. You would like to control the resources which you are feeding to China as of today, which is the Central Asian republics and the Eurasian mass, which it is still under control of the Chinese,
Mind
of
you,
the Russians.
the energy resources because of the Strait of Malacca, and that is where
Yes,
India's centrality comes. China is in a bind. They need use Central Asian republics, and Central
good, sir. Yeah,
Asian
sir.
republics are only with me.
So very good, sir. You're defending as Putin quite bravely, sir. I give full marks to you for that, sir. But one good point which you have raised, and that will be our last point of discussion, in which I want both of you to become Modi one by one. And you have also brought out the centrality of India in the calculus of Russia. Even US needs India for its own short-term gains, as also for somehow managing China. But US has some concerns that we should not be so powerful that we start giving concerns to Pakistan and its survival. Now, you as Modi, sir, I'll first go to Jan Kakkad as Mr. Modi one. Sir, how are you now going to bat for India in the coming US India visit of Prime Minister Modi? How are you going to bat in the US? What is going to be that extra which you want to bring to the table of India, which will give you the edge to win? After all, you also have to win the 2024 elections like Biden.
See, basically, what you're going to be looking at is closer proximity in terms of defense, in terms of technology, which is where we are behind, which is what we need the maximum. We're going to look for US support in the global environment, which anyway exists and will continue to exist. The fact is, we are both going to be fighting in 2024, the difference being maybe a few months apart. But at the same time, what we are going to be looking at is going to be that both of us need one another. There is no two doubts about it. Without India, the US is hamstrung as far as the Indo-Pacific is concerned. And I mean, frankly, would also be pushing for the US to change its stand on Bangladesh and Myanmar. Because these are two nations in my proximity who are now facing problems. The US is sanctioning Bangladesh, it's already been after Myanmar. It needs to understand that the more it pushes against them, the closer it gets China into the region, which adds on to my problem for ensuring my own area before I decide to step up.
Okay, sir.
So that's what I'm going to look at, and I'm going to tell them very clearly I have to balance ties. I am with Russia, I am with China in BRICS, I am with them in RIC, I am with them in SCO. I have to ensure that things do not go awry between Russia and me. I'm still dependent on Russia for a lot. So, therefore, I will not accuse Russia directly. I will come to your help when you need me to push Putin to take a particular safer path.
So, sir, Mr. Modi number two, sir. Modi number one has already laid out a lot of things which he wants from the US, but I still feel these are not enough. These are not enough for you from the domestic politics, from the domestic perspective. What is that critical thing which you think you can bring back, which will swing everything in the favor of your interest as well as country's interest, both? Because we have to make both the interests coterminous. It should look like as though you are going ahead with taking India to greater heights. What would be that extra thing which you think he will back for?
My sense are, while I generally agree with what Harsha has said, but there are three, four things more I would like you to consider. A, I have got post COVID, and because of vaccine net 3, my influence in African Union has substantially increased. So I am emerging as a leader of South, not
Yes.
of 50s when which was only a voice. Now I can back it up with resources. So with my this thing, the Americans will definitely need me in say global South. A. So that is one thing which I can bring to table. Second thing is a country which can stand against China, because China is one power in the world, be it US, be it Russia, both may endure, but they don't trust China because China has its own design. India continues to remain a benign power. So, therefore, I have to make sure that Americans realize that I'm no threat to them. But China could be, in case it goes unchecked, it could be a threat. So, therefore, certain amount of, despite Blinken's visit, the manufacturing base substantially shifts to me, and I am providing this kind of facilities, which be it in the domain of trade, be in domain of safety and security in Indo-Pacific, and this kind of a thing will help me to stay. And this, my relationship with Russia is, America will realize that it is transactional. We can't even afford it. At the same time, I am also their eyes and ears to Iran. And Iran being, in case, say, imagine if China is given Banda just by Iran, what will happen to Bahrain? The Persian Gulf would be blocked. So therefore, my relationship with Iran is equally important. Over a period of time, the even Afghanistan, which is a kind of a hub of the fountainhead of any kind of insurgency. Now we have got certain kind of a equation with Taliban because we supported them when no other country supported them. So therefore, third thing, the kind of technical know-how we have, we may not be having the technology, but we have got the capabilities and potential. They realize this kind of a thing. So therefore, America also cannot ignore me. So therefore, I can have a number of issues where I can hold on my own against POTUS, and America will have to listen to this. That is what my
Okay,
point
sir,
is.
thank you very much, sir. I think we have had a very long discussion. The time has actually run short. We didn't even realize that we have crossed the 40 minute mark, which is supposed to be our target, including question answers. We have a lot of questions lined up in the chat box. And hey, friends, please like and subscribe to our channel. We are just starting. We are a new organization which has taken on this new route to propagate strategic thought and issues related to national security and nation building. Yesterday, we had concluded day before yesterday, we had concluded a seminar which was in collaboration with Economic Times. It was a great hit. In fact, it was touted as one of the best seminars Lucknow has had. And so, therefore, please do like, subscribe to us. We are going to bring you some more interesting discussions in times to come. We have a number of viewers, sir, who have joined us, and they have asked a number of questions. I will take on few of them, sir, because I don't think we have the time to take all of them. We'll take about two, three of them. There are certain comments which I will just flash on the screen. We should never trust America. America always looks for next Zelensky in India. I think the point is well taken, and we do agree. The trust levels
India is too
historically,
big a country to become a
yeah,
Zelensky.
yeah, and the trust levels have always been a problem with India and America relationship. I'm sure with External Affairs Minister Shankar and Modi being there and at that particular place, they will take this into account. Sir, thank you very much for your views. In any case, then we have the we have a next question, which is again ask now onward, West Asia will become a supporter of China. How globe can be controlled? How globe can be controlled Turkey? I think what he means is that how can Turkey be controlled, because Turkey is now actually doing a kind of a pivoting between the east and the west. So, like yeah, today itself, there was a statement from Turkey which was tilting to yeah, they have signed a S-400 second deal with Russia at the cost of annoying the US. This has happened
And
just today.
not agreeing to give clearance to Sweden.
Yeah.
Not
So
agreeing.
so
So far, they have not given clearance to Sweden.
so Jan Kakkar, what do you have to say? How are is Turkey now becoming the fourth? I mean, third pole. They want to take the place of India, which India has now been claiming that we are the third pole, or we are not claiming, but we are somehow
See,
pivoting towards
Turkey can never come in there. Turkey will continue playing the game because it's looking to gain limelight. It's looking to be a nation in power. The fact is, it is sinking. It's economically sinking very fast. It's got its own major internal issues. But as far as Erdogan is concerned, he wants to continue being in the limelight. He wants to leave behind a legacy of the greatest leader that Turkey has seen, and
someone.
possibly even be better than the Ottoman sort of reputation that exists. But that's not
Kamal
going to
and
take
Mansur.
place.
He wants to
Ah,
be another
sorry.
Ataturk.
Correct.
Ataturk.
Ataturk,
Okay.
and basically that's not going to take place. The Ottoman Empire is not going to come back, nor is Turkey going to get that standing. The US has already thrown it out by removing the F-30, by removing it from the F-35 program. The major benefit that Turkey has, which nobody can touch, is that it hosts nuclear weapons of the US on its soil. Now
Uh,
that base, which it holds on its soil, is a blackmail,
that's
which is
that's
why
that,
But
it's in an
that is
ability to push.
that is the
one,
blackmail
one,
which is
one thing
pursuing.
one thing I would like to add to what Harsh has very clearly said. The uh, the China's effort to create a kind of a bonhomie between Saudi Arabia and Iran is to split the wings of Turkey.
We have
Saudi Arabia
yeah.
and Iran are on one side.
Time, deklo, time.
Turkey,
So we'll
Turkey.
take the last question. We'll take the last question. This was a comment from DK Salvan.
Salman.
Energy is in the driving seat of geostrategy and geopolitics. I think this is the reality of today. And
Agreed.
and
And I
Mackinder,
would say extend the resources. Resources.
absolutely,
Let's
sir.
call it
Uh,
resources.
and Mackinder and Mahan in some way or the other would have modified their theory to put energy at the center of. We brought out those two gentlemen because they were considered as the father of geopolitics and geostrategy. So that is why we thought we should take on from there and make a little interesting. And he also comments this: the Lord Curzon was of the opinion that India must venture into the maritime domain to extend its potential reach. Absolutely true. I think India needs to now focus on the maritime domain and increase the Chinese dilemma, sir. What I mean, I'm sure you all will agree with that. Malacca dilemma has to be further chipped as far as the
No, the
Chinese
Sri
thing is.
Vijaya Empire, Sri Vijaya, Indian
Oh, yeah.
Cholas and Sri Vijaya
Yeah,
empires,
yeah.
the way they extended themselves, and Kanoji Angre. So we all know, we
Okay.
have the history of those kind of things.
Okay, sir. Then I'll just flash these questions. If you wish, you can. All superpowers so far were sea powers. Mahan seems to be winning today. So I think you see, actually we should not look at them in isolation. What do you say, sir? Uh, uh,
Absolutely, I'm with you. In today's world, it is not either or. It is not mutually exclusive. It is a combination of, like, even after all, maritime Silk Route. Why did he go for? China went for maritime Silk Route. Russia
see,
today is trying to go Northern Sea. and
Absolutely.
Baltic Sea. So therefore,
It's
despite
it's it's
Eurasian,
it's just the
say,
yeah, absolutely, sir. It's just the way. I mean, sea power and air power are the means, and the resources
and
are there.
here Harsha's one comment is very relevant, that when Mahan thought that sea power is power, B power, and Mackinder thought that land power is the power, the air power was not there. Air power has changed the equations quite substantially. And that is where the 13 carrier groups of America, they tilt the balance.
This is the last questions we will take, sir, because we are getting unduly delayed, and there are a number of questions today. We have had a very vibrant community which has joined us today. So China, unlike US, doesn't have any military alliance. How has Xi Jinping expecting to stand up to the Western countries? I think they also have a military alliance, maybe not of that stature as
See,
the US.
South
basically,
Korea,
see,
Yeah,
basically, China is not looking the way US is looking for global domination.
correct.
China currently is looking for only dominating Asia. And in terms of dominating Asia, it is subduing the nations of the ASEAN by sheer economic dependence and by military power. So, for that, there is no question of a competition, which is why the pressure is there on ASEAN today to sign the agreement as far as the South China Sea is concerned, which the US is trying to hold back. The threat of Taiwan, even today, Blinken was very categorically told that the red line is Taiwan. You guys are not even supposed to be talking about it. Forget about providing them support. So as far as that is concerned, and the fact is that the world knows that the moment Taiwan falls, Japan faces the next threat. But
bomb,
the issue is
bomb.
the issue is
Greenland, US would be
anyway.
threatened.
So anyway, the issue is that as far as China is concerned, it's not looking for world domination. It's basically looking for Asia and South Asia. So that is where the difference is.
Right, sir. I think we have had a very fine discussion today, and we also had a number of visitors to us. This was the last and the final comment. This is good for India. India does not have any shipping manufacturing companies building trade ships, etc. This is a matter India should address, especially when China through the BRI following Mackinder theory and uh, China surrounding it. We do have some companies, but they are not of the level.
Not that big.
They are
Other
not that good.
Bhatnagar, and
Thank
there are a number of shipyards which are building those ships.
Thank
Say
you very much, sir. I
ERSC
think
and
we have absolutely run out of time. This has been the most longest episode which we have had. Very nice of you all to have joined at a time which is normally used by people for siesta. And
Yeah,
thanks
not
to
me.
all our visitors, thanks to all our visitors, audiences who are going to listen to it, who have listened to it throughout this discussion, and who are going to listen to it in the future. Please do like, subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Chal. See you. Bye, sir. Bye.
bye.